My wonderful, beautiful, amazing Leos. I'm Gabriella from Gabriella's Vampire Tarot. For today, I'm going to be doing your general reading, your past, present, future, your 9-card spread. I'm going to be using the regular tarot deck, clarify with the vampire deck, draw a special vampire card, draw a vampire oracle, and then finish off with 3 yes or no answers for thee. So let's get started with your reading. The general card is the King of Wands upright. Let's look at the first row, which is also your past. You start off with King of Pentacles reversed. 9 of Pentacles. Okay, a lot of Earth placements, Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. And then the 7 of Wands. You know what I kind of got here? Is you pretty much, you were, well, first, okay, I'm kind of getting, different and mixed, senses here. But on one aspect, it looks like that, you felt kind of imbalanced about something. You felt kind of uneasy, let's put it in that phrase, uneasy about some kind of upcoming event for that matter. But yet you pretty much also had a wonderful, beautiful abundance, and it also accentuated your motivations. And this is kind of like a loyalties kind of card. I mean, I just kind of feel like that maybe you just pretty much kind of, just suffered from some kind of uneasy, maybe financial offerings or opportunities, or maybe your finances are kind of a little bit on the glitchy side because it's not always going to be, glamorous for everybody for that matter, not even for the king and queens of the jungle. It's sad but true. But there's something, that kind of puts you in a bit of this unrealistic feeling or this uneasy. I mean, I'm just going to use the term uneasy because the thing is normally you would want to have the King of Pentacles upright, so then you pretty much not only live in an abundant and rich lifestyle, but reversed. But, upright, it's also kind of a sense of, structure, it's pretty much, just craving, this kind of, certainty about something, realism and realistic feelings. And then afterwards, you do get the 9 of Pentacles. This is kind of like maybe you did kind of strike some kind of deal with somebody where you were actually hoping for, this big, luxurious offering, and instead you got something of a lesser quality, but it's still, good enough in other ways. And that's actually either, putting you in a position of wanting to defend or move forward, or actually start, protecting some kind of idea, especially if it took place in the past for that matter. Because I love the fact that, the general card is you for today. So gender, it doesn't mean anything in my readings. But anyway, so in current times, you do get the 3 of Wands reversed. 4 of Cups. And the Emperor. Okay. So what I'm kind of getting here is, it's I see that you actually want to make this big change, especially from your past to current times. Now, in current times, you do get the 3 of Wands. Now, it could be feeling uneasy about wanting to head out into this world because maybe you actually already, are still kind of feeling that sense of thinking, okay, I got hit with the King of Pentacles in reversed, so now I just don't have the confidence of getting out into this world. But it could also feel like you're not entirely prepared either, but yet you are definitely being offered something, but it's kind of putting you in a bit of a hesitancy mindset of thinking, well, should I accept this, yes or no? And then you get this authoritative card from the Emperor. You could have an authoritative father, you could have an authoritative husband, boyfriend, any kind of male person in your life, but it could also be you actually wanting to crave certainty as well. Because the thing is, it's when something just kind of seems a bit, where you feel kind of hesitant about something, that usually means that, something, isn't quite clear as day for you, in the sense that, the sun is technically your planet, though the sun is not really a planet in that aspect. But, the thing is, this could also be, something that's kind of holding you back in other ways, where you just don't feel prepared, and then suddenly you get hit with something that you just think, it's not looking any better, but yet here is where you pretty much do crave a sense of structure and certainty, in the sense of actually having control over the whole situation. Because in the future, you get hit with the King of Cups reversed, Page of Wands, and then the 5 of Wands reversed. So what I'm kind of getting here is, it's like you're kind of also heading off towards a different route, because especially with the King of Cups reverse, it's kind of like your senses and intuition are kind of fogged over, because maybe, it's like you just pretty much crave, this, sense of power and control, not that I would ever blame any Leos for that in other ways. I mean, here, is one of my cards. But the thing is it's kind of like your senses and intuition are kind of a bit clouded over in other ways, and you pretty much just think, no, something just doesn't feel right, with any kind of offerings and stuff like that. So now you're pretty much actually taking initiative and action, and you're pretty much forgiving any kind of like negative event that took place, especially in the past. And that's kind of like how that Lion King movie is like. You have to be able, tell something about the past as well. So I kind of feel like that movie kind of also kind of resonates in today's reading, which is funny because, you do get Leo energy as a general thought. So the thing is, this is where I feel like you're kind of moving on and just kind of forgetting about the past and or forgiving. Let's put it in that aspect, is you're kind of forgiving the past because you're heading off towards a different direction. And that, my beautiful, amazing feline, if you even get a chance to watch one of my previous videos about the history of Elizabeth Bathory and blood, is as long as, blood is flowing, it means that there's movement, development, and healing. And that's kind of what this is all about. Just with any kind of page, whether it's the Page of Swords, Cups, Wands, or Pentacles, is that this is a journeys kind of card. And if you're heading off towards a different, location for that matter, it's pretty much probably going to be healing you in other ways. Because, for clarification, for the King of Pentacles reversed, you got the Four of Swords. So you felt kind of uneasy about something, but you really needed to rest up. Because rest is important for any kind of recovery and healing as well. So if something kind of put you in a situation where you kind of felt uneasy or just imbalanced, you pretty much, got hit with this unrealistic idea of some kind, it's kind of, putting you in the need of thinking, okay, we're going to have to rest up a bit. Because, you want to make sure that there's a sense of certainty and structure with the Emperor in current times. Because for Nine of Pentacles, you get Two of Grails. Now, this could be you and your beautiful companion, lover, husband, wife, partner, whoever it could be. But it could also be you and your senses and intuition. Because the thing is, it's like you want to have abundance. You really want to think, okay, it's like, I want to be able to be in a beautiful, luxurious king and queen of the jungle mindset. So with the Two of Cups, it's kind of like your senses and intuition are saying, okay, well, we want to reclaim our throne again. We want to actually have our crown again. We want to be able to actually be living in a luxurious, mindset and actually be seen as a king and queen again. And that's what your senses and intuition are guiding you towards. Because here you are pretty much regaining your sense of actually, your motivation and inspiration again. And then you get hit with judgment. Clarity, head is out of the clouds, and that's what I like to see. Is finally, hard work is finally, being reinstated into your life again. And just as that saying goes, or any kind of phrase, hard work should be paid, hard work, pays off or something, right? Is that what it is? But otherwise, head is out of the clouds, you know exactly how you're going to go about it, exactly, with anything, and that's where I see you actually regaining your hard work again, so you can actually, get this big, beautiful, grand announcement that's going to be taking place and coming up real soon. Wow. Because even though you might not feel entirely ready to head out into this world, maybe you don't feel incredibly prepared, well, opportunity is pretty much going to be heading off towards you with the Eight of Wands. And that's, where the Four of Cups is finally going to show up, where it's pretty much going to be like thinking, I'm not so sure I want to actually do this, But of course, the best way to counteract any uncertain feelings is by asking as many questions as possible and actually just keeping an open mind. Don't immediately assume that all offerings are just going to be just a fool's gold, fool's errand for that matter. But I just see that opportunity is definitely going to be heading towards you. And that's what I like to see is, this is kind of like it's sort of a rescue kind of combination that I'm kind of getting. Because for Four of Cups, you get Lord of Pentacles, Lord of Skulls, King of Pentacles upright. So this offering is going to pretty much, will come across as this real big, abundant, this is what you want. This is what you're heading off towards. This is what's motivating you is to actually reclaim this big sense of grandeur again, your royal side, even though you're fire and this is earth. Of course, you can always have earth placements, but this is also a realistic offering. This is like this, the real deal is finally showing up for you because, your opportunity is finally going to be protecting and rescuing the beautiful feline. I mean, of course, you guys are strong and bold in your own way, but it's always nice to actually know that there's other people or other, ways of actually having your back. And that's what I see here. Abundant City is pretty much, if you were to accept this, it could potentially, result in a wonderful, beautiful, abundant, realistic and rational idea. And then with the Emperor, you get Cancer energy with the Chariot. So here you are pretty much, probably following through with this beautiful offering, or maybe you'd still, are kind of on the cusp of embarking on this new journey, because this could be you standing at the threshold to say, is this a real, honest to offering, and this is you actually finding that sense of motivation to say, okay, when do we board this beautiful chariot opportunity? And that's what I like to see is, it's like actually having that sense of adventure about you. And I feel that this is just a wonderful, beautiful outcome in other ways. It just shows, like that you pretty much have this sense of needing to actually see healing and development on so many levels. Wow. Because even though, it's like it might seem, a bit a lack of clarity, you do get Three of Cups. Now, this is an interesting Three of Cups card because, it's not only a beautiful celebratory occasion that's waiting for you, even though you might just think, well, this is kind of like, your senses and intuition are kind of clouded over, but it's also like, not knowing when to expect this beautiful celebratory occasion as well. But this could also be a really beautiful support card as well, because if you look at how these two female vampires have their arms around this vampire supporting him, or maybe he's supporting them, and just thinking, okay, we pretty much still have each other, even though it's like, yeah, this could also be like your senses and intuition are kind of a bit clouded over with a sense of uncertainty as well. And maybe that's what's kind of putting you in a kind of in need of needing to actually have support and backup. Because you're heading down this new or this beautiful Page of Wands voyage, and you get the Nine of Wands. With any kind of voyage, it's like as long as you keep at it, but you rest up as much as possible, and you keep resting up so you can keep re-energizing and stuff like that. Well, you may be, tired to the bone. You might be exhausted to the bone in other ways, but you're just not giving up, and nor should you. Because whatever worth having doesn't come easy, but with any kind of journey, it could be so exhausting on so many ways, because any kind of journeys, require a lot of energy, and I just feel like, okay, it's like you just have to keep going either way. Wow. Because by forgiving your competitors and any kind of disappointments, you do get hit with the Five of Cups. But mind you, on a positive note, this is kind of also like some kind of sacrifice that you're going to be having to be making. And maybe that's the whole forgiveness, is that you could be having to forgive this sacrifice. And any kind of sacrifice always kind of gives you like this uneasy feeling of thinking, oh goodness, because the thing is this is not like, well, Death reversed, the Tower reversed, or the Ten of Swords. Now, the thing is yes, it's like you may have lost the Three of Pentacles. I mean, the Three of Cups, just like how, you started off with the King of Pentacles reversed, and then you got the Nine of Pentacles afterwards. That's also kind of like some kind of sacrifice. But this is also some kind of disappointment that you could potentially face in the sense where you could be, having to let go of, something so you could open up new opportunities for new beginnings and stuff like that as well. And that's with any kind of sacrifices. It's always kind of a painful sensation at the beginning because it just seems like, oh goodness, how is this going to actually work out in my favor and stuff like that? Well, eventually, time will tell, and it's pretty much also about, the way how the sacrifice is angled towards in other ways. Because here is this beautiful adventurous card from the Special Vampire card, also known as the Page of Swords. And this is where you're finally gaining the sense of putting time and effort into this new chapter of yours, and whatever it may be. So this Page of Swords is pretty much actually saying, okay, it's like, yes, we've been through the sacrifice and stuff like that, but now we are pretty much opening up new doors and opportunities for us to actually head out into this world and stuff like that. And that's kind of also with the means of sacrifice, like maybe you have to, let's say that you're heading off towards like a job or career or even a college where your friends are not even attending and stuff like that. That's kind of a sacrifice as well, because you're leaving behind your beautiful friends and stuff like that, because you're embarking on this own personal journeys of yours. But any kind of sacrifice, it's pretty much, you know that any kind of sacrifice is definitely going to be benefiting you and actually, helping you, accentuate, this, need to get out, this adventurous side, because just remember that you are always going to be the King of Wands. And of course, gender doesn't mean anything in my readings, but here you are. And that's pretty much, where you're pretty much also kind of pondering to think, how are we going to go about this transition and development in other ways? Because Oracle wants to say prey, stalked, invaded, and watched. And, you could either be seen as prey, which you should never allow yourself, because you're always going to be the lion king, the lion queen. You shouldn't allow, like any other kind of animals or humans for that matter, to see you as prey in other ways. But, if you're being stalked in other ways or invaded or watched, well, you might want to just kind of, just keep, your senses and intuition open and stuff like that, for that matter. But you could also be heading off towards your prey as well. And I feel like that's what you're pretty much, craving, is this prey of wanting to actually, just leave what's, doesn't, will serve in any purpose for you. And maybe this is kind of like some kind of sacrifice that you could be, facing as well as a potential prey. But in any way, it's like with any kind of sacrifice, it could actually put you in a vulnerable position of being the prey as well. But I would just really keep your eyes and intuition and ears open for any kind of unforeseen situations that could potentially, will put you in like a position of being prey. I know, I just didn't really care for this, but it's always good to kind of sometimes also look at the, darker sides of other things as well. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to finish off with 3 yes or no answers. Please feel free to pause this video and think about the questions you want answered. For number 1, you get the King of Cups in reversed again, which is no for answer number 1. And then you get a yes for number 2 with the 4 of Swords reversed. Oh, yeah, you get the second 4 of Knives. Oh my goodness, and then you get Lovers reversed, one of the cards I pulled for the Vampire, but it's another no. So for today, you get at least 1 yes and 2 no's. Hopefully they'll still benefit you in any way. But my beautiful Leos, I'm going to have to leave it at this for now. But if this reading resonated for you, please feel free to join and subscribe to my channel. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I love you guys incredibly. In a few days, I'm going back to love reading. So for now, I'm just doing general and love. I'm also open for personal readings. All you have to do is let me know in the comments section below that you want a personal reading from me, and I'll respond to you with my email. But other than that, I want to thank you again so much for joining me. I love you guys incredibly. I just actually see so much growth, development, healing, and this big announcement that's going to be taking place. So again, just remind yourself that you're always going to be the King of Wands, Queen of Wands, the Strength card in other ways. But other than that, I love you guys incredibly.